addiction to redemption. You're about to hear an astounding real-life story. Let's talk about it with Bobbi Jo Reed and filmmakers Brent and Donna Jones on Steve Brown, etc.
He's an old white guy, an author, broadcaster, and seminary professor who's sick of religion. And he's brought friends. Please welcome, etc.
Welcome. This is Steve Brown, etc. I am not the aforementioned old white guy, but I think you figured that out already. I am Matthew Porter. I am your humble fill-in / rodeo clown. Boy, do we have a great show for you today. Dr. Brown will be back next week. Have no fear. Our producer, Jinx, is here. He's working hard in his little glass booth per usual. Jinx loves, you should know, Jinx loves meatloaf, bread, wings, and a whole bunch of other music acts from the 70s.
That is correct.
Our video director and one-man IT department, John Myers, is in his tech bunker. If there was a problem, he'll solve it. And Dr. George Bingham is the president of Key Life. George reminds you that today is National Support Your Favorite Christian Talk Radio Show Day. Don't Google that. Just take it on the word of your good buddy Matthew, and you can find all the details of that at keylife.org/give. Did I do it right, George? That did.
Yeah. And remember,
right.
it's always today is the first day of the rest of your contributions.
Yeah, I like that. Well said. And of course, Kathy Wyatt is the soft feminine side of our program. Kathy, I've actually studied the numbers, and I have found a direct statistical correlation between the times I decide to eat better and when you decide to bring in baked goods. It's a 1-to-1 ratio.
They meet. They collide, right? I'm so sorry.
Uncanny. Hey, no worries. No worries on that. Guys, I'm not even hyping this. This show, we have been looking forward to bringing you this show for a long time. Soon you'll understand why I'm saying that. I want to introduce our guests to you. First, Bobbi Jo Reed. For well over 2 decades, Bobbi Jo has helped rescue thousands from addiction in some of the most dangerous areas of Kansas City through her ministry, which is called Healing House. Brent Jones is a director. His filmmaking dreams took him to Los Angeles, where he worked on set with Steven Spielberg, Sam Raimi, James Cameron, Michael Bay, Cameron Crowe. That's okay. I mean, I guess, if you're into that.
Fairly big names.
Yeah, I'm not jealous.
Not at all.
Like, not at all. Brent has directed numerous award-winning TV spots, including a Super Bowl commercial, which, if you're not familiar with directing commercials, the Super Bowl commercials is like the Super Bowl of commercials. It's a really big deal. And Donna Jones is a producer. She graduated from UBC in Vancouver with a degree in psychology. She later transitioned to the world of film and TV, where she works in a variety of roles, including line producer, production supervisor, and producer. Now, why are these people all here today? Because the Jones family, they created a new feature documentary that tells Bobbi Jo's remarkable journey. It's available now on Blu-ray, DVD, digital, and on demand. It's called Bobbi Jo Under the Influence. Guys, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So we're about to dive into a little story. I as we always do, anytime that we're going to possibly touch on some kind of sensitive topics or stories, just give a heads up to everybody listening that maybe for little ears, maybe for even up to young teenagers, the early part of this show might not be one for you guys to listen to as a family. Although if you've got older teens, I really encourage you to take a listen. I don't think that's maybe too young to listen to some of these stories, and you'll see why in a moment. But just a heads up on that, as we always do. Bobbi Jo, my goodness, it is such a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
Would you please tell us a little bit of your story, maybe start with like the growing up, and then kind of take us through where things kind of took a turn.
Okay. Awesome. So My dad was a policeman, and he worked 2 jobs the whole time I was coming up. And our mother had some mental illness issues, but undiagnosed. Back in those days, all the moms took speed diet pills, and then they would take Valiums to slow them down. So my mom had addiction problems going as well. So at 12 years old, my dad was work. So at 12 years old, I started working a full-time job, and I started hanging out with older people. And, I was a chubby girl with, I had no self-confidence, no self-esteem. So when I started hanging out with these older people, the first night I went out with them, I got drunk, and I could not wait to do it again. It made me feel, maybe for the first time, comfortable inside my own skin. And I felt like it made me fit in. And, we always think it makes us a better dancer, right? Anyway, so I could say that I was an alcoholic by the age of 13. And I just went from there. I had some unfortunate experience. My back was broken at the age of 15 in 3 places. My neck was fractured. And I was on lots of painkillers at that point, Librium, Darvocet, and Valium, all 3 of those 3 times a day. But I'm still drinking Miller Ponies and Strawberry Hill wine, right? Along with this, I was in a metal body brace. A week before my 16th birthday, I was at a party, my back brace, and I was raped. And, I just kept, due to circumstances, I kept falling down and down and down. My home was very siloed. So we all lived under the same roof, but everybody had their own silo, and we didn't really pay attention. I come from a family of secrets, right? They didn't want anybody to know. My mom said I told her friends I had the flu for 22 years. It wasn't flu. It's called a hangover. And and Jones and she used to tell everybody, Sissy has the worst luck. Somebody wrecked her car. Or so. No, that was me. Yeah. And anyway, so we were a family. If you didn't talk about it, once it happened. And so anyway, I spiraled out of control, and my addiction ended me up towards the end. I was being human trafficked. I was living in and out of seedy hotels when my pimp would beat me up so severely that I couldn't work. He would kick me to the curb. I lived under a truck boxcar, the boxes on the back of semis. I lived under one of those next to a liquor store, and I became an it. And invisible people. We become invisible people. And I couldn't even go in anywhere to get a drink of water. The gas station wouldn't let me come in. It was awful. And so a lot of really bad things happened to me. I was kidnapped, raped, my feet cut open. It was a horrific. I mean, I just wanted to die. Every time I came to, I just wanted to die. I wasn't drinking to have fun anymore. I was drinking to survive. I went for a year and a half without looking at myself in a mirror because I couldn't stand to see what was looking back at me. And I was hopeless, just hopeless. And every time I came to, I thought, I don't want to go through this again today. Please let me just die. But God had better plans, right? So almost 26 years ago, I made it to detox, inner city detox. And I stayed there 5 days, shaking and baking. And I got into a treatment center next door. At that time, I was on 33 pills a day. I had post-traumatic stress disorder. I had Crohn's disease. I had a depression, anxiety, all of it. And now I got to say, I'm only on 2 prescription pills a day, 26 years later. So God is good. Anyway, so I went through a lot of things, and I went to the treatment center, and I started going to a lot of 12-step meetings and making friends there. And I practically lived at those meetings because I needed to do something different. But one of the things I remembered in the detox, there were no hygiene products. Were people coming off the street sick? No toothpaste, toothbrushes, no nothing, soap to wash off with or shampoo. So what I did to compensate my my income was I baked stuff like zucchini bread, banana nut bread, fudge, cookies, and I'd take them to the flea market and I'd sell them. And with my earnings, I would buy like little hotel. I could get 10 bars of soap for $1, and I'd buy little things of toothpaste and toothbrush. And then I'd go back to that detox and I would take hygiene products and any baked goods I had left over. I would sit there, I would give them to the people in the detox because they were so sick. I had a girl that for years said, "You saved my life with the chocolate chip cookie." And I remember I went down to the detox and it was a dungeon. I went down there and I sat on her bed and her eyes were swollen shut from being beat so bad. And I had a bag of chocolate chip cookies. And she said, those chocolate chip cookies saved her life. And so that's how my journey started. And
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, that's how it started, but that's not how it ended.
Right.
And there's a plot twist coming up, guys. I'm not going to give anything away. It involves a character. His name is Jesus. Again, I've said too much already. I'll let Bobbi Jo explain it on the other side of the break. And we are going to talk to Brent and Donna Jones. We're going to learn about how their story intersected with Bobbi Jo's to create this amazing documentary, which again is called Bobbi Jo Under the Influence. Guys, this is going to be a dynamite show. You don't want to miss a bit of it. We are coming right back. We'll see you on the other side. Listening to Steve Brown Etc. We're talking to Bobbi Jo Reed and filmmakers Brent and Donna Jones about their new documentary. It's called Bobbi Jo Under the Influence. Where can you find out about it, Matthew? I'm glad you asked. Go to thebobbijomovie.com to learn more about it. Let me spell that out for you. The Bobbi Jo Movie. Bobbi, B-O-B-B-I, Joe, J-O. Bobbi Jo ain't got no time for E's. Bobbi Jo's busy doing God's work. Yeah. So we got to streamline this. B-O-B-B-I-J-O, and we're on with it. Before the break, we were talking to Bobbi Jo about her upbringing, and I don't think it's any kind of hyperbole to say there's every reason in the world that we should not be talking today.
Right.
But that was not the last chapter of your story. And I would love for you to tell us about what the next chapter was after you hit this point.
Okay. I started helping people at first, of course, because it made me feel good. And I never knew I had a purpose before in my life. And when I started helping these people, it kind of felt like, man, maybe I am good at something. Maybe I can do something. So, and then it just became the next right thing to do. And my dad had died 30 days before I got clean and sober. And then when I got in the program, 6 months in, my mom was re-diagnosed with terminal ovarian cancer. So I took care of her for 3.5 years until she passed. And, I was dating guys. I was volunteering at a lot of places, helping a lot of different treatment centers, hospitals, jails, all that. And so my mom passed on December 30th. And I was living in a house. I had 2 roommates and a boyfriend. The 2 roommates had relapsed. And I had started going to church because my boyfriend, I kicked him out for relapsing, and he started going to this church. And, let's face it, us girls get a little paranoid. Not any of those church ladies were going to get my crack in, right? So So off to church I went in my red mini dress, and for all the wrong reasons. And he used to say, we're not equally yoked. And I should have said, correct. You're a crackhead. I'm not. But instead, God knew what it would take to get me to the church. So I started going. But Mom died on December 30th. 2 of my roommates were gone. I went out to get an urn for her ashes. And when I got back home, my boyfriend was gone. It was New Year's Eve. So I drove out to the church to see if he was there. And I tell you what, he wasn't there. And my mom was gone. My dad was gone. My boyfriend was gone. My roommates were gone. And it felt like my heart dropped down into my gut. Now, always before, when bad things happened to me, I could anesthetize myself. This time I couldn't. And so I went home from the church, and I was bawling my eyes out. And I lay down in the bed. And I brought in the new year crying out to the Lord. And I asked him, please don't let me go back to where I came from. Please grab a hold of me and have your way. Lead me, because I'm lost right now. I'm a lost soul. It was the most humble prayer that I've ever prayed. And I fell asleep crying. And when I woke up January 1st of 1999, the Holy Spirit had taken up residence in me. And fear had covered my life, my whole life. I was 37, 38 at this point. And when I woke up that next day, the fear was gone. Fear was gone. And not to say I didn't try to take my will back occasionally, but God really grabbed a hold of me and started leading my steps. And so Mom died. I fixed her. I went out. She was a hoarder. It took me forever to clean her house out. I got it all fixed up. And it took me 3.5 years to redo that house. And I'm driving back and forth from Kansas to Missouri. And all my sponsees for 12-step lived over here in the treatment centers I was involved with. So I'm driving back and forth, got the house all done, right? And at this point, I had figured out there were 900 women going through inpatient treatment in our city with less than 30 safe beds. And women that had children, they were shown compassion because of the children. But for the single ladies, it was that mentality of you made your bed, lay in it. And it broke my heart. 900 women with 30 safe beds to go to when they got out. And we know if they go back to the same circumstances, we're going to get the same result over and over and over again. So anyway, I'm at the house I just completed 3.5 years of my life. Beautiful, paid off, laid out, nice. And it was like God did this, and he said, great job, now sell it and move to the hood. And then I said, pardon me? And he said, yeah, that's what you're going to do. So I kept looking for a place, and there was an old abandoned nursing home that I was continued to be drawn to. And I couldn't contact the real estate agent, but one day I was looking at another house. I had $50,000 coming from my inheritance from J.E. Dunn, or not, no. Who were the financial people? It doesn't matter. Edward Jones. Anyway, so I had a check coming, and one day I was looking at another house, and when I got back to my car, I said, Lord, this isn't the house. Please, I'm impatient. Would you please just drop it in my lap? I turned the corner. I'm on the side street of the nursing home, and a real estate agent is walking up the stairs with some other people. So I'm like, I run up there real quick, and I say, can I come in? They're like, yeah, they don't mind. You can come in. Walked in the door. It reeked of urine and cigarette smoke and chicken wire windows. The doors were kicked in. The windows were out. It was awful. But the Holy Spirit is like, this is it. This is it. Now, anybody else would have said, get a bomb or a bulldozer. But I could just see it. I mean, Holy Spirit started leaping inside me. And so the asking price, of course, you don't want to act like you're excited because the price could go up. The asking price was $50,000, the same amount I had coming in the mail in 2 days.
Wow.
So it took a lot. Wow. I started working on the house. 2 months after I got it, dope man moved in next door, started selling drugs, running prostitutes, brought female gang members from Chicago to try to scare me out of there. I had a crazy lady in my driveway with a machete trying to slice our tires. And every time she'd hit a tire, it'd bounce off. And so, I mean, it was rough. Not 3 hours would pass in this community without gunfire. So it was a very scary place. Gang members, pimps, prostitutes, drug dealers on all the corners. And so the women's...
Wow, you can pick them.
Yeah. But here's the exciting thing. That's not the case anymore. There are no pimps on all of St. John. No pimps, no drug dealers, no prostitutes. They're gone. So you know what? What happens to the dark when the light comes on, right? The dark has to flee. And that's exactly what has happened. So the dope man, I called the police the first couple of times he brandished his pistol to me. And he would just go in the house when the cops would come and not answer a door. So I figured out I needed to call on a higher authority. So I asked Jesus to please let us get that house and get him out of there. And I claimed that house in Jesus' name. And a year and a half later, we got the dope man's house. And it has been, every house has been one God story after another, after another. You know, I knew I wanted to help the women. The first house got full. The second house, we rehabbed it real quick. It became full. Then women were coming that were pregnant, and we couldn't accommodate little babies because there wasn't room. And so there's an abandoned apartment building half a block away. And so I started peeking in the windows. And the neighbor said, "Lady, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm not a peeping Tom, you can rest assured, but I really want this building." Nobody was doing nothing with it. And I thought, man, I could help these women that are pregnant. They could stay at a main house. When they go to have their baby, they could come back to an apartment ready for them and their child. So I found out who owned it, and I got that place. And we started on the top floors, doing the 4 apartments on the top floor. Me and my buddy Gary, the floor head was dirt. The cement was really gone. So me and my buddy Gary poured the cement floors in the building, changed the drainage system, and so the women, I would go to thrift stores and stuff. So the women would come to our house, stay, get a foundation in their recovery, and then they would go from there to a fully furnished apartment for them and their child. You know, the one thing is God has never told me to stop. Yes, I want to help women. I want to provide, and men. We do have men now. And so a stable environment, a healing environment for people to come and let down all, you know, you have to get hard out there in the world. So they let down their guard. So currently, it's not just that, though. We need to prepare people to have a purposeful life, right? So since we have 14 homes now, we provide housing for 200 adults every day and around 30 children. We are in the process now. We have a recovery community center that holds 350 people for meetings and Bible studies. We have bought a strip mall. We're putting businesses in there so people can learn trades while enhancing our community.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, I told you this is an amazing story, and now you know that your buddy Matthew is not a liar, and that is not even the full story. God finds Bobbi Jo in the muck and the mire, pulls her out, and then goes, "Hey, I'm going to send you back to the exact same place, but not the same person. Yeah. And you're going to find people who are like you were, and you're going to be able to help them in a way that nobody else is qualified to do." That's the story. On the other side of the break, we're going to meet the people helping tell that story through a documentary called Bobbi Jo Under the Influence. Guys, you need to stick around to hear this story. We are coming right back. So much for hanging out with us on Steve Brown, etc. And we are hanging out with Bobbi Jo Reed and filmmakers Brent and Donna Jones. Together, they have created a documentary that you've got to check out. It's called Bobbi Jo Under the Influence. We told you before, the website for that documentary is thebobbijomovie.com. But take an extra minute and check out Bobbi Jo's ministry. And you can find that information at Healing House KC, as in Kansas City, healinghousekc.org.
Brent and Donna, I want to address a couple things to you about the documentary. And I was absolutely blown away, amazed. I can't think of all the words. It was absolutely an amazing thing to watch. And that's a pretty significant thing for me to say, because I don't typically really love a lot Christian movies. They just don't do it for me. This was amazing. Obviously the story, I mean, how can you go wrong with a story like this? But when did you all first become aware of Bobbi Jo, her story? When you did become aware of that, what went through your mind? Did you go like, oh, we got to do this, we got to make a documentary of this? Or was it a slower process? Kind of, take us through that a little bit.
Well, we had been reading a lot of scripts. We were going to make. We just moved back to Kansas City from Los Angeles, and we wondered what we were going to do back here in Kansas City. What we needed a project, and we wanted to make a movie. And we'd been reading a lot of scripts and stories, and we had a couple that we were pursuing. And I'm in recovery, so I go and listen to people's speeches and talks, and I went up to the church near my house where I go to meetings and stuff. And Bobbi Jo was speaking. And she told her testimony, and, the whole time I've been looking for a good story, and you just heard her story. So, my jaw dropped just like everybody else's does. And I said, man, this is amazing. I have to talk to her afterwards. And I went up afterwards. I said, Bobbi Jo, that was an amazing story. I'd love to pitch a document. I'd love to make a movie about your life. And I kind of want to document it first to put together a pitch reel. And she says, well, come on down, honey. Here's my book. She signed her book and she put her phone number on there. And she said, anytime, that sounds interesting to me. And I came home to Donna and I said, I found an amazing woman who has one of the most amazing testimony I've ever heard, and one of the most amazing stories that I'd ever heard. And we had her book. So Donna read her book and I read her book, and we had more information about it. And we hemmed and hawed for a little while, and eventually I said, I got called Bobbi Jo. I said, can I come down? I just want to meet you. I want to see what's going on down there firsthand. And I showed up with a camera crew. She said, and we spent like 3 hours with Bobbi Jo. The whole idea was to find out, does she have the charisma on camera that she does in person? And we shot for 3 hours. I came home. We cut it together, and man, we had 3 minutes of an amazing, amazing story. And yes, her charisma comes across on camera. And I said, we got to do this thing.
Check that off.
Yeah.
Charisma check.
Absolutely. I always tell him that if he would have told me he was bringing a camera crew, I would have looked a whole lot cuter that day. I was not prepared.
Oh my goodness. So describe the production process, because if people don't know, I mean, documentaries are a lot different than a movie or a commercial script. You've got, these are what everybody's going to say, and you show up and you do the makeup and then it's all there. Documentaries are, it could be sliced so many different ways. And when it's done well, you kind of avail yourself to unexpected moments. Were there, how long did production run, and were there any surprises? What did you guys learn in this process?
No surprises at all.
Dumb question.
No. We were originally, like Brent said, we were just going to do a small little piece that we could maybe pitch to do a narrative story of Bobbi Jo's life. And, Brent just kept going down there, kept coming back with meeting new people, more material. And we just kind of dove in. It's almost like Bobbi Jo's, the way Bobbi Jo gives back, she's just giving all of herself 24/7, 365 days. And it makes you feel like you're not doing enough. And it just became like, we got to do this. Like, if not us, then who? And if not now, then when? So let's do it. And so I was busy back home, staffing up and reaching out to the Kansas City Film Commission and trying to find, the editors and the people that we needed while Brent was out there shooting. And he just, kept meeting more and more amazing people. And it just, but I think that as far as like laying out the story,
the story, we knew Bobbi Jo's story. We'd read her book, and we needed to meet other people around her and find out the rest of the story. So my whole idea was let's do Bobbi Jo's testimony and let's incorporate the 12 steps so we can have some information. Let's have this be a resource that gives people the experience, the strength, and hope, and also kind of lays out how it works, how someone does get sober. And so the questions that I asked everybody that had been through been through the Healing House process were along the lines of the 12 steps and their experience and what they'd experienced and how they got sober. And so that was basically the script. And
that kind of lends the structure to it. That's amazing. And you guys are kind of promoting this in kind of a grassroots kind of way. Am I remembering that correctly? So guys, this is such, the story itself is great. The story behind the story is equally as powerful. And we're going to get into more of that on the other side of the break. Again, the movie is a documentary. It's called Bobbi Jo Under the Influence. It's available on Blu-ray, DVD, digital, and on demand. Go to thebobbijomovie.com. Guys, there's more good stuff ahead. Don't go anywhere. Listening to Steve Brown, etc. By the way, we now have a new app, a Key Life app that is available for both iPhone and Android. Very excited about it. Be sure to check that out and maybe throw us some stars. I don't want to micromanage 4, 5, 6, anything in that neighborhood would be great. Just go to keylife.org/app.
Brent and Donna, this is obviously not your first rodeo in this arena. And so you knew the kind of investment you were going to be putting in terms of time and effort to do this. Two questions, I guess, that come with that. One is, why? Why did you want to get into this? Why did you want to invest so much of your energy and resources and so forth in this story? And then I'd be interested in hearing a little more about the details on the production side of things. But start with a question, why?
We saw somebody somebody that was living under a boxcar who changed their whole life and then started changing other people's lives. And I do a lot of work with people that are struggling with alcoholism and addiction, and I have been fortunate enough to watch their lives change. If you watch people get their lives back, and there's nothing more rewarding than that, And my background was in doing television commercials, and we really just wanted to do something that had a whole lot of meaning. And when we found Bobbi Jo, we found somebody that was saving lives, that was helping people come out of a really dark spot and finding light. Lives are being saved. The people on the sidewalk that are struggling, we're not supposed to step over them. We're supposed to try to help them. No one should be living homeless. No one should be fall prey to human trafficking and addiction and alcoholism and not be able to. We need to help those people. And there's no better. The best people to help those people are those people that have been through it. So by sharing her story, she's helping people find a new light and a new life. That's why we did this movie. And so she could share her story with the masses, and we could get that word out that there is hope and there is a way to get your life back. And here it is. Here's one way, and one really good way. And I found proof of many people that are changing their lives and wanted to document it. So we just covered it and documented it. And there's so many people in the film besides Bobbi Jo that have had this spiritual awakening, this experience where their whole lives have changed, and now they're spending their time helping others. So it's this ripple effect that's moved out, and it's changed the whole community. And I can't think of a better story, you guys. I don't know what we're going to do next that might be up to this. This is what I wanted to do. This is what we wanted to do.
I'm always going to be their favorite.
I mean, it's
There you
going
go.
down. You know what? This is going down right now in every city. All of these things, and there's a solution to it. And if we all get together and we work really hard, and you support the recovery organizations out there they have the knowledge and the will, and their mission is to help other alcoholics and addicts. They're the ones that can touch them because they know the stories. And this is just a jumping off point with Bobbi Jo.
And it's not just the dependency addiction issues, but the trafficking issues, it sounds like, as well. I mean, there's so much of that. And for people whose hearts are drawn to helping and don't know what to do, this gives a great intro into that. And in terms of the production, I mean, where do you even think about beginning to do this? I mean, you talk some about connecting with the people that are also the additional part of the story, but just kind of putting all that together. Give us a little behind the scenes insight.
Well, we knew Bobbi Jo's story, so we needed to meet everybody. Bobbi Jo, who do we need to talk to around you that can tell us the past, can tell their point of view? So we met all of these other people that had been through the healing house, and we've got their stories. And so when we started interviewing those people, it just opened up door after door after door. And I had scheduled to interview Bobbi Jo. I'd filmed her testimony in front of a couple different groups of people, and then I had planned to do a personal one-on-one interview that you'll see in the movie. And I had planned to do that early on, but I started meeting everybody else around her, and the story opened up. I mean, I started knowing her past, and from everybody else's point of view, a lot more story came forth. And so I said, Bobbi Jo, I'm going to wait and do your interview after I get to know everybody else. That way I can construct some questions for you to fill in those stories. Mm-hmm. And, as far as what we did is we went out and we interviewed those people. We made transcripts of every single thing that was in that interview. And then we went into those transcripts and started highlighting everything that we wanted to pull. And then our editors would pull that, and we'd interview the next person. We highlight everything. So we had 30 transcripts of interviews, and we had 3 editors going to town on all of those interviews, pulling all of the best parts of the story. And we started constructing the story. We had a 4-hour movie at one point. We had to whittle it back to, a little over an hour and a half. And to get them, so we had to cut people and make sure we had the story. And then we had to interview the social workers, the local police, people in the neighborhood, and to fill in all the gaps and, go to different functions and get the families. So it's a daunting process. To do a documentary, you don't have a story going in. You find you discover the story as you go.
Yeah, it's like digging up dinosaur bones. You just kind of wiping bits away until it emerges. We have like a minute left in this segment. Any behind the scenes stories? Any crazy memories from that?
I mean, I think what I'd like to speak to is just how unbelievably brave Bobbi Jo Reed is to share her testimony so openly and so honestly, and she just goes for it. And it's because she knows that it'll help people. She knows that it will reach people who think that it's very unique to them, right? People will hear this and think, that they've got it so bad. And Bobbi Jo's story brings hope to people. And she's just so courageous. I spent some time in her neighborhood, which is an absolutely beautiful neighborhood. You see children. We arrive early in the morning and there's children running for their school bus. And this is a neighborhood that wasn't like that before. And it's, because of Bobbi Jo and what she's doing, she has literally transformed that. And it gives us hope that can happen in other places. And because she is so brave, and she is willing to tell this testimony and be so vulnerable and honest with us, maybe that will help us all have those really real conversations with each other and not just sort of live behind the screen.
Good stuff. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I wish we had a whole other show to dive into this more, but this is such powerful stuff. Appreciate that you guys put all of this story, all of this into this documentary. It's a testament to the power of what happens when one person will say yes to God. You say yes, and then he starts to make things happen. And in this case, lives, a town is transformed. Guys, we have one more segment. Sometimes it's the best, sometimes it's the worst. Stick around, find out which one. We'll see you on the other side. Thanks for hanging out with us here on Steve Brown, etc. If you like what you hear, don't forget, we do have an email list. We call it Key Life Connection. How's that work? Once a week, we send you an email. Easy cheesy. It's an article or video just to remind you that, hey, God's not mad at you. I don't know about you. I could use a reminder like that more than once a week, but I'll take once a week. So just go to keylife.org and /subscribe to get in on that. Wow, what an amazing story we just heard from Bobbi Jo Reed, and then the story behind the story with filmmakers Brent and Donna Jones. You've got to see this documentary. I watched it, and I'll tell you one of my favorite parts, and it's a split second, and it's not the most obvious thing in the world. It's where Bobbi Jo is giving a talk to a group of people in recovery, and she mentions some name of some package store, Roscoe's Liquor and Wine, and it gets a murmur from the audience. And that little thing to me was such a snapshot of what we hear Steve talk about so often with identification and letting other people know you don't have your stuff together. Even now, that you're a Christian, Jesus is your only shot at this. Steve writes that the people we want to see and hear the truth. Let me say that again. The people we want to see and hear the truth that we live and know will not until we as believers say you too and identify with them. That identification is everything. And I saw it just in that one little moment. You definitely have to check out the documentary. What do you guys think about all of that? Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So powerful, very
amazing
emotional
story. Yeah.
Absolutely bonkers.
And she just did it. I mean, she just said, okay, I'm going to do this. And she just went out and did it. I mean,
she's fearless.
Yeah.
Absolutely fearless. Check it out. And such a good time talking to them. And I know that we will have another great story ahead next week. Kathy, who's on tap?
Kathleen Eaton Bravo is our guest next week. She's the head of a group called the Obria Group, and they are a bunch of licensed community care clinics that provide medical consultations, well women care, pregnancy testing and screening, ultrasounds, abortion consulting. It should be a very, very, very interesting conversation.
From what I know about her, basically Planned Parenthood wakes up in the middle of the night and it's in a terror because of her. And that's why I love her already. Guys, come back next week for that. It's going to be great. Thank you for hanging out this week. Until we meet again, remember, be safe, stay dangerous.